All right, today I'm talking about how I'm making some changes to my channel, the podcast, how I believe in 2025 this change and these changes that I'm going to make are going to be the thing that ultimately helps my business the most. So what is this, right? And how does this benefit you? Well, I'm going to be talking about how I'm going to be making a more focused channel, which in turn will make it a smaller channel. So it's how a smaller channel or a smaller podcast is the right thing for my business, which is a counterintuitive thing. But I think there's some lessons in there, and I think it can be helpful, for anybody else who thinks like, hey, how do I make this content really work for me? That's what I want to get into. And on a personal note, I want to talk through all the things I've tried content-wise. So I've tried, even on this channel, you go back, you can see I've tried personal development content, some finance-related stuff, which I don't know why I did that. Done a ton of interviews, which I like the interviews, and I'm going to do more of those, but they're going to be more focused. Ultimately, too, in my content strategy over the last 13 years, I've done a lot of different content. I wrote a bunch of articles for Inc. magazine that I wouldn't do today because they were just mass appeal and they didn't really help my business. I have a bunch of articles on my company website which rank for keywords that don't lead to business, but they get a lot of traffic. So it's this big shift moving into 2025 and beyond toward content that really solves specific problems for the people that I want to connect with and the community that, I want to be a part of. I hate when people say like, oh, it's my community online. No, the community I want to be a part of, right? Which is marketers who are just trying to excel, trying to be better, trying to make great content, for the company they work at or the company they've started. So that's where I'm at. One of the things that really kind of took this and made it like something where I'm like, okay, I really need to do that. I really do need to focus down on this. So in Q3 of 2024, I was in a meeting in a pitch and we were pitching a brand for my agency. My agency is cavesocial.com. And, we help companies with social media. And I received really an interesting note from the person that I was pitching. He goes, hey, you have a YouTube channel, right? And I was like, yeah. And he goes, oh, I watched your video on how to find UGC creators. And I was like, oh, dang. Okay. And that just sparked a thought really for me to go, oh, I need to be really solving specific problems for marketers or people who are in marketing departments, CMOs, people who have to make some decisions or are trying to grow their business. And if I can really get specific on here's what I do or here's what my team does and here are the experiences we've had, here's what's worked, here's what hasn't worked, that could resonate with people. But then it can also help me when I look at the pitches I'm going into. If people have seen the content before, for a specific problem, or if they've stumbled across this video, they get to know me or my team a little bit more. It's just going to help us. So that really sparked the idea for me to say, okay, I need to double and triple down on getting specific and doing that and serving this really focused, narrow group of people and not worry about trying to go quote unquote viral or having the biggest YouTube channel. And I battled with this recently. I was creating videos and I saw the niche SMMA, right? Which is social media marketing agency. And there's so much content on how to grow your social media marketing agency. And it's really a hungry niche. And I could create some content on how to do this and how to find clients and blah, blah, blah. But as I went through that niche, one, I would be serving other agency owners, which is not really who I want to connect with online. And it'd be very much so a space in which it's just people who are trying to sell courses to people who are trying to start social media marketing agencies, which is not really what I want to do. I want to talk through the real challenges I'm having running an agency without trying to sell you a course on the back end, because the main thing that makes me money is our agency when we work with clients. So that's something that I've always seen and battled with when I see creators on YouTube who are, pushing their course, and nothing against that, but it's that's their sole focus or their sole way to earn money, and their agency is an afterthought. For me, it's very much the agency is the focus. And then this channel helps me connect with decision makers at companies. It helps me learn with some really good people when we have the interviews, and it keeps me sharp with regards to how I present information. So I think that helps with the overall business. Okay, so let's talk about really how I see this. And I see creating a focused channel does a couple things for me. One, connection. It allows me to build connection with you, also with people that I'm having on the show. So that is huge, right? As I've been able to interview people, that has led to real life connections, getting drinks at conferences with people I've had on the show, business opportunities. It's led to direct revenue. So although my channel is on the smaller side, and this show, if you're listening, the podcast, like it's on the smaller side of podcasts, it's still a very, very rewarding experience, both emotionally, but also financially, to make connections and to do so because those are the people that, you connect with who actually trust you and then they want to pay you for something. So I feel like if I can create a channel that just gives as much goodwill as possible forward, then that is going to come back eventually. And I've seen it happen. I've seen people reach out, and it's been because they've seen this content or they've been a guest on the show and they've reached out afterward to hire us for one or multiple services. So that's one, connection. Two, I would say familiarity, which is the more that I can create and the more you can create video content, great content for socials, the more that your potential customer is going to see you, right? That's what I believe. The more that I create content and I help solve problems, the more my potential customer is going to see my channel, see my content, and they're either going to say, hey, I like what he's saying. I like what that guy's saying about marketing. That really aligns with my beliefs. Or on the flip side, they might be like, this guy's full of shit. I don't agree with him. That's okay, because I don't want to work with the people who think that, everything I'm saying is incorrect anyways, because we're not going to align on strategy from the jump. But people who see content, they see content strategy the way I do, or we share a philosophy around marketing, great. Those are going to be better working relationships. So the more I can create content that is really focused to a single ideal customer's profile, ICP's issues, and how to help resolve them, the better it's going to be. And then third is, in this channel is content. I think one of the great things that creating a focused channel does is it really pushes me, and it can push you to say, okay, what content does my audience really need? And am I equipped to give that to them? Can I create? Can I answer those questions? Do I have a shared life experience? Or do I have a life experience that I can share that really helps, illuminate a point or show some empathy or be like, hey, look, I went through this. I lost a client and this is how I felt after, or whatever that may be. So I think the content is really a great exercise to go through, planning the content, thinking of what to say, and then executing it and really flexing that muscle, which only helps, as we get into client work and we're able to do this for the clients as well, to be like, okay, who are we talking to? And is what we're saying what we want to say? And does it match what the client or the customer or the audience member on the opposite side is really looking to hear? So all that to say, right, what am I going to do? And what is the actual strategy? The strategy is going to come down to a couple things. One, consistent posting. So going through, I went and looked at what are the top 25 questions that my ideal customer might have, the community that I want to serve. How can I answer those questions, or can I bring on an expert who can help answer those questions? So that was like the first part. Then I was like, I know that the familiarity, the more content that goes out there, the better connection I'm going to have with you, the viewer. And that also means like responding to comments below, interacting with people, etc. And I think that that's going to be, one of the benefits, at least I hope for you as you watch this, is like if you want to hope you learn something or you're able to focus your own marketing maybe. Or two, if you do have a question, if you reach out, I will gladly answer or help any way I can. So yeah, I think that's the first thing, is like finding those questions. Two, just trying to really be consistent and not get pulled whenever there's something shiny like, oh, we got to do this top XYZ 1, 2, 3 posts, or you see that there's a content type that's really popping off to be like, oh, okay, no, I got to stay in my lane and really be like, I am here to help, social media marketers, social media professionals, people who are in the VP digital, VP marketing, CMO spot. It's like, I am here to help marketers, and I want us to not be seen as the arts and crafts department. I want us to be able to walk in and say, look, here's what we did and how it affected revenue. So that's like the goals that I just have for this moving forward. And ultimately, that's how I think it's going to help make money. So that's the last part of this, is how does this all make money, or how does it help? I mean, my podcast to date has probably been responsible for about 30% of our client work. And it's really just as simple as people reach out from the channel, people see the clips, they reach out on LinkedIn, or I had them on the show and then, they reach out a year later, or they introduce me to a friend or a colleague who needs marketing, and it goes from there. So as much as YouTube and the ad revenue probably will never be paying the bills, for me, maybe if it does one day, great. But ultimately, I think the real money making opportunity strategy or the way to make money or the way I'm going to do that and further, my agency, my team's growth, the company's growth, etc., is just going to be, through making those connections. And that's ultimately what's going to push, the financial part of this forward. And that's it. That's it for this first video, kind of outlining what I'm doing. I hope this was useful to you. If you're listening on audio, thank you for supporting the podcast. I appreciate you. If you're watching this on YouTube, please hit that like, share, subscribe. It means a lot. This is the Mind Your Marketing podcast. I'm Jordan Shelton, and I'll catch you next time. Cheers.